After the death of several inmates and booking former President Donald Trump, the Fulton County Jail has been in the national spotlight. Here new at 6, Channel 2 investigative reporter Mark Winne with us live from the jail in Northwest Atlanta. And Mark talked with the sheriff about this extra attention.
All right, and we understand this is the Sally Port, where former President Donald Trump was brought via motorcade. See this chain link wall over here? As I recall, there were buses blocking that. Sheriff's office buses, I surmise, put there for safety and security. And this is a door to intake, the door through which history was made.
I do believe the former president's indictment and us really following through on what I said we do has shone a light on the Fulton County Sheriff's Office, hopefully in a space at this point that we'll get some additional help.
When he was brought into intake, who's with him?
The Secret Service was with him. We had a few individuals that were really stationed to make sure that we were very fluid in what we did. His motorcade came in. He ultimately came out. We were very intentional about making sure we had the right people in place to both take the mugshot, complete the fingerprint.
We're told this is the fingerprint machine a sheriff's office supervisor used to fingerprint the former president.
Background as we do everyone else. He was then escorted back to the actual motorcade where his bonding paperwork was brought to him, so he didn't have to languish here. We were very intentional about making sure the path and the facility itself was not just clean, but ultimately making sure that there were no impediments to processing.
Had all other inmates been cleared out of intake at that time?
Yeah, absolutely.
What did he say to you?
Not much, not much. I've said very, very presidential, very stoic, right? But in a space that you had to feel for the magnitude of the situation. And so ultimately, it was not very short conversation and all business.
Did he seem upset in any way that he was having his mugshot made, his fingerprints taken?
I think he did a press conference following that expressed his feelings.
We did nothing wrong, I did nothing wrong, and everybody knows it.
There was no law that said you had to mugshot and fingerprint Donald Trump, right?
It's not a law. We process upwards of 30,000 to 40,000 individuals a year. We will treat everyone equally, regardless of their status.
Did you have ever any regrets about the decision to mugshot and fingerprint him?
I don't have any regrets. I understand the weight that comes with it. I understand that I have been attacked both personally and professionally. And so we will weather that storm as an agency and from a personal standpoint.
Fulton County Sheriff Pat Labat says the men and women who work for him at the Fulton County Jail shone brightly in the professional way they process not just former President Donald Trump, but other defendants accused in an election interference indictment with him. But he says he hopes the bright light shown on his jail ultimately leads to additional help addressing problems that go back decades, punctuated by the deaths of 6 inmates in recent weeks.
I've said this from the time I took office, and that was, we have a crisis here at the Fulton County Jail.
The sheriff says Monday, the first phase of a new wristband-based inmate safety system called Talatrix, for which the Board of Commissioners approved more than $2 million, went online tracking the heart rates and whereabouts of 16 mental health inmates so far. Almost as soon as we walked in, there was an alert,
Which actually identified one of the detainees having a high heart rate.
Officer just left here to check on what's going on.
Absolutely.
I checked on him. However, he's fine. He's laying down. He just asked for an extra sandwich, but he's fine.
He says soon the system will cover all inmates on the 3rd floor, which houses the medical and mental health unit. And if it proves out, one day, perhaps every inmate in the jail.
As this proves to be beneficial and save lives, our plan is to put the entire facility on these bands.
Now, one other area we talked to the sheriff about, the sheriff says, as for criticism that the election indictment defendants, except one, were processed and released more quickly than everyday suspects, he says anyone who works out a consent bond with the DA's office, as was the case here, except for one defendant, will get out quicker than most. He seemed to stress that cooperation with the DA's office was key to that situation unfolding smoothly, the processing of the election indictment defendants. Reporting live at the Fulton County Jail, Mark Winne, Channel 2 Action News.